Hi, welcome to Therapy Tech and Takeout, where humor meets healing with bite-sized chunks of wisdom and techie tips. I'm Toni Teixeira. I'm a therapist, entrepreneur, recovering overthinker, and ethics nerd.
And I'm Jackie Toll, an entrepreneur, unapologetic spreadsheet addict, and low-rent stand-up comedian. Hey, Toni, how's it going? What you vibing on this week?
I am really excited about an upcoming trip. We're leaving for Disney on Friday,
Yay.
so I'm vibing and excited about that. And the other thing is I made a painting for my daughter and mailed it to her. And that's another thing I'm really excited about. Yes, she got it yesterday and
That's
she
so cool.
opened it on the phone with us. I asked her to, because I wanted to see her face. And it's only my second painting. This is like a
Wow.
new hobby I have.
Awesome.
And when she opened it, she thought I commissioned it. She's like, "Oh, you got an artist?" I was like, "No, I did."
That's so cool.
And it's a painting of her standing in front of her house. As we were leaving, when we were saying goodbye to her, I took a picture of her, and that's the picture I pretty much painted.
Oh, that's
and
so cool.
it was just a lot of fun to do that. So we're also, so how are these two things are connected because she's coming to Disney with us, and we'll get to see her on Friday. So I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic.
How about you? What's happening for you, Jackie?
I am just embracing the world of change. Like you think you're on a path and then, something happens and you have to pivot. And I find that interesting and exciting, but like it's also kind of like an emotional roller coaster to go through a little bit. So, but all good, it's so wild how like those things happen and like then you're like, oh wow, I found myself in a better place. I've been lucky enough that that's happened to me a few times, so hopefully this works out in that direction. I have faith. But I'm so excited to talk about our topic today with you. Super relevant. So also Brene Brown, right? Like she's like,
Yeah.
Brene Brown. I mean, just so great. But she's talking about how to survive this sort of like AI generation is like this in business, really, in leadership, is to like reject the old models of like tough leadership and looking at employees as just like an input, no different from a widget or anything else. And I think it's such an interesting shift, and it's a shift I've been a part of, and I've heard other women who are executives like talk about this idea of becoming more vulnerable in their corporate lives. And it's a topic that just this weekend, actually, I was talking about with some other folks that are like, powerful strategic leaders out there in business. And I think it's really fun. So I'm excited to dig in and get your thoughts on this topic for sure.
Sounds great. I love Brene Brown. I'm a big fan.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So one of the things like I think I have, well, let me lay the groundwork, or I think we kind of already did. But
well,
yeah.
What's the topic? What is with Brene Brown and this topic?
I mean, a lot of Brene's work, for those who aren't familiar, is around vulnerability or around topics related to vulnerability.
Like shame.
Shame.
She talks a lot about shame, right? Yeah. Shame and vulnerability. Yeah.
It's so funny to be like, when she releases something new and you're like, yay, I'm going to talk hear all about shame for 6 hours. But it's great. And so she was at I think it was Fortune or Forbes top 100 most powerful women conference that they were having, and she was speaking. So this is kind of like her thoughts on how leadership has to change in in this world, in the world we're living in, of AI.
Yeah.
Of AI and of this this next generation coming into the workforce who look at things differently, and I think have different expectations. I came into the workforce expecting to kind of be treated like an input, and I think my kids and other folks in that generation like aren't willing to like accept that. Like I think that there's a little bit more sense of self and needing to see themselves in that space. And I think technology is partly behind that, right? Because we do crave that connection, and the more technology we have in our lives, I think the more we actually need to feel connected in the spaces where we're put in with other people, right? And so I think it's an important shift, but it's a hard one. It's hard to know, like, where's that, for me at least, where's that line between being like transparent and open and vulnerable, and then like oversharing, or like, saying something that, you know, maybe you're like, was that over the line? Not like
Yeah.
offensive, of course, but like, or hopefully, but like,
Yeah.
just like too much, kind of. You get in a groove, and you're like, oops.
Yeah, Brene, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm thinking about some of the things that she was talking about, and the reframing and understanding what leadership looks like in from the past in this kind of very rigid way, right? And you're talking about feeling like an input, or just kind of feeling it feels very transactional, like you do this thing and you get that thing. And she really talks about we can't be replaced by AI, because there are very human things that we do and that we need as humans that can't be replaced. And the biggest thing that comes to mind is the pursuit of mastery. Like, that is one of those Maslow higher level kinds of things that we need, a sense of purpose, trust, building trust with other people. AI can't replace that. It can't do it for us. And we need to do that. And if we are in this transactional space and we do less and less of that, like kind of we have to shrink ourselves down, that not only doesn't feel so good, but that kind of goes against the way our brains work and our nervous systems work, because our nervous system, we're built for connection. We have to be, because if you're a small baby and you were left,
Right.
alone in the tribe and everybody left, you would die. So we're really built for social engagement, to look around, to find the safe people in the world and to connect with them. And not doing that is like, it's just thinking about like how painful that is, but it's also not using our best qualities
Right.
as humans, the thing that AI can't do for us anyway. So, like, that's all preface to and in connection to what you're talking about in terms of vulnerability and how much we share and how much we show up. I don't think it's a matter of how much we personally share, because I can be vulnerable and open and connected and build trust with you without telling you every single detail of my life, right? Because we can really just talk to each other,
Yeah.
make eye contact, nod, smile, even just nonverbal, that kind of communication
Yeah.
can help us feel more connected to each other. And that can't be replaced, but it's not really, what I heard you saying too is like you feel like this new generation, or the latest generation, is valuing human connection more than we ever had in the past. And that's a really good thing.
For sure. And I think they want to feel connected, like, to the things that they're doing in a way that I don't think I expected. Like, I didn't go in with the expectation to feel super connected to the workforce. I think I wanted, or, I wanted it. I wanted to feel like, safe in my job and respected by my peers and all of those things. I think those are natural, like, desires to have, but I don't think felt like that was like the norm, or like something that was reasonable to like expect. And I think now people are thinking that it's reasonable, and it's reasonable to be
Yeah.
able to show up as your authentic self too. Like, you don't have to be this like perfect, no mistakes, polished, everything's, like, the stress of keeping up some of that like persona and stuff, I think is wasted energy. And I think a lot of like leaders who are really dynamic are shedding that now.
The best leaders
Yeah.
are really showing up as their best selves, their vulnerable selves, building trust, communicating directly with people. That is so important. Like, how do you manage other people as a leader if you're not communicating well, if you're not providing support, if you're not showing your humanity?
Right. And
Yeah.
your ability to, take feedback and change direction if needed, or address a concern that you hadn't thought of, or things like that, saying like, I hadn't thought of that. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't something, um, I think I saw a lot of modeled from
When,
leadership
when,
when I was coming up.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's something that I value now, and, in myself, and want to, continue to work on. And I think it's something that when I look at who are the people around me in positions of leadership that I would want to get on board and work for, that's the type of leadership and sense of place and things like that that are important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Connection drives safety when we're connected, and we know that we're in a safe place. We wouldn't feel connected if we weren't. And if people feel safe, they're actually going to work harder and better. Because if you're anxious, if you're worried,
Right.
and you're not feeling connected, then you have like this whole part of your nervous system that is frantically trying to figure out what's going on and trying to get away from this unsafe place, right?
Yeah.
So you feel that anxiety or shut down. So really, I mean, this speaks directly to leadership. If you want a team of people who are going to work the best for you, it's not foo-foo stuff to help them feel safe and connected and to communicate well. Driving, kind of driving people with the carrot and the stick, whatever
Yep.
that term is, like pushing them in that way is really going to drive them away. We've known that. That's like not new, but I don't see it represented in the world as much. And I'm hearing you say that it feels like younger people are more demanding in a good way of having leaders who are going to show up and be respectful and caring and connected and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you know, like, there's that push pull on, um, you know, wanting people to like work hard and have, a lot of output and whatnot. And then, this sort of like work life balance, or like not wanting to do that. But like when you're engaged and when you're really interested and committed, and you have a group of people that you're working with that are like committed to a common cause, like it's almost the opposite. Like you have to remind each other, or, like you have to be like, hey, we need to take breaks and we have to check in. And like, like it's kind of it's a self-fulfilling cycle if you can get it up and running, and that like it does, when you're in having those things, you do want to work harder, work more, be more valuable to the team, that type of thing. I think that's just the natural innate thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that's not like unique.
Mm-mm.
I think most people feel like that.
It's very, yeah, it's very human.
Yeah.
Very human. It does make me wonder, Jackie, though, we talk about AI taking over jobs.
Yeah,
There's a lot of that. There are a lot of
for sure.
people who are really scared that that's going to go away. So what is the impact for this generation that is craving connection? And that's what our brains want. Our brains are really craving connection.
For sure.
And if we create a world that's built on AI that feels kind of disconnected, how do we survive in that world? How do we infuse more? I mean, I'm asking the question like,
Yeah.
like you don't have the answer, but it's something to think about. It's like, how do we satiate our craving for connection when, like social media is really a fake place to make connection. That's
Right.
connection. It's not. You can see things and you can feel, affirmed and validated because there are other people who are out there. But, your 20 or 30,000 friends on Facebook are not, or, whatever, Instagram's the latest, TikTok. Those are people you see who can affirm and mirror what you have, but that's not the same as having a one-on-one conversation and really being vulnerable and sharing all your stuff. So it's kind of like fake connection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
perhaps.
I think they've said like, or the humans can like really manage like 150 relationships. Like that's kind of where we cap out as far as like real connections.
That's a really high number.
I
Didn't even
know,
know
like,
it's that
well,
high.
and it's like your network. Like, I know
Yeah.
it's related to like network theory or whatever. I actually have a friend who has a company like named after that concept, but, and like, whatever the number is, right? But like that seems like a high number to manage. But like if that's your extended network, kind of even, but that pales in comparison to like followers or connections you have on social media, right? Like it's just the math doesn't math for me on that one. But I
Yeah.
think part of the answer is to think about what was the stuff that I was looking for, like what can I take from the human that I can have AI do that frees that human up to be more of a person in this space, and let the AI do the AI side of the space. And I think the more you can, like, this idea of it being able to like replace every person, in like it might replace a portion of the people, right? Which also needs to be addressed, of course. But I think the idea that you still need the people, because the people provide, you know, the things that keep the business or the organization, running. If it's anything that has to do with like human connection in any way, right? Maybe you could run like, I think at Parks and Rec, one of the examples of a boring company was like a dry cleaning supply company. Like, maybe you could mostly do that with AI, right? But you got to have people driving the things. You have to have, they have to interact with people who are receiving the things. There's still places.
Not necessarily. We got self-driving cars. I'm sitting here. I'm refuting right now.
Yeah.
Thinking
Go for
about
it.
like, all right, well, Jackie, we got self-driving cars.
Yeah. But somebody's got to like sell that account.
I can go to the ATM machine and take out money, so I can also get cupcakes or dry cleaning from a machine as well. Yeah, you need someone maybe to load up the machine. But we can really, the number of jobs that can be automated it's probably astounding and beyond our capabilities to really think about it, in the same way that I can't almost conceive of like how these neural networks work when I really think about it and how that learning takes place. So I wonder if we really know just how many jobs can go away, which makes it even more important to keep the humanity and the humanness in what it is that we're doing. Or else, like, I think of, did you ever see the Disney movie WALL-E?
Oh, yeah.
Like, they don't go anywhere. They sit in their chair all day and everything like comes. It's just so isolating, and it's just not how we're built. We're, like I said, we're really like, we're built for connection. We're built for, I'm just thinking about like emotional extinction.
Yeah.
That thought just came to mind when we don't have opportunities to be human. Brene Brown says we're shit at being human.
Yeah.
I love that. And if we don't, like, does that end up getting, lost in the gene pool? And do we emotionally, become extinct because we don't have these experiences and hone our skills at it?
And then I think of the other side, and it's like, oh, well, what business opportunities are there in, creating spaces or places or, things like that to drive more human connection.
Yeah.
I do, it's going to be a radical shift. The degree to which I don't think, like you said, we have really any clarity of, but I don't think it's going to negate the value of human connectedness. And I think more people, are understanding the value of that and are looking for it. We need solutions on how to get it, how to find and connect with the people who aren't getting enough human connection and bring them into places where they can get it. I think, that's sort of the question in my mind of how do you solve that? But I don't think that, for all across the board, there's still a lot of places where humans are the magic in what happens. And I know times in my jobs where I've been amazing, there hasn't necessarily been, on like an intellectual project or something like that. It's oftentimes like solving problems for other people. Like, and
that's like all about creativity.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that there's still a ton of opportunity for that. And you find those things in those conversations and that connection. But yeah, I think it's something we have to focus on. It needs to be front of mind, and it needs to be something that leaders are getting together and talking about, how they're doing.
Getting to do stuff, though, like really shapes us and shapes our brains. I'm kind of, my brain is going back to the worry about how reliant we become on AI, and that, yes, we can get it to solve problems, but the how invaluable it is. First of all, your problem solving and solution for somebody else. And I love to do that too. Like when people are together, like, let's figure that out. Right. that is creative. That is, something that you could come up with, a solution that no one ever thought of when you bring all those kind of pieces together. You could outsource that. That's kind of the sad thing is like we can do that. And I think about what you would miss out on. The
Yeah.
connection of talking to the people and being able to work that out. And then on the inner workings of, your neural connections that get strengthened. If I want to figure out how to write an email, if I sit down and write it versus have AI write it for me, I've actually missed out on the opportunity to get my brain to work.
Yeah. And I
And
think
I was
that's where that's like, and it's such a cycle, right? It's like a drug addiction almost or something, it's like,
Yes.
or like, it's like when you are depressed and you don't exercise or whatever, like it's just, and it becomes a habit that does become hard to get out of and just, requires diligence.
It's insidious. This
Yeah.
morning, this is the first time I did this because I didn't notice it. I noticed I got an email and I was about to respond. And on my Gmail, I had 3 samples in small boxes of 3 emails I could send to respond to the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
I clicked on one and I was like, oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you very much. And da-da-da. And that was a friend of mine who's not, just kind of replying, yeah, I got that kind of thing. And I felt really icky.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel like I was using this tool. It was making my life better. I felt like I was cheating. I felt like, not even sitting there and typing it. It was a one-click thing. You were talking earlier
The
about
literally same thing happened to me today, and I had the same feeling.
you had that ick feeling. Wow.
Yeah. And it was the first time I had done it too, where I was
That was
like,
the first time.
right?
Are you
How weird
kidding
is
me?
that? I swear.
That is so
How weird is that?
I
And
never.
it was something where it was like, sounds great, thanks. And it was just like that
Yes.
sentence. And I was like, that's pretty much what I was going to say. And I had that ick too.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about how if we can use AI to do stuff, it could free us up to be more human.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would look like, though. Like,
Imagine
and what
a world.
spaces in my imaginary world. So yeah. And what if there are no spaces? Like, do we have enough of that? Like, my husband tells me, you're in the field that, we need people like you, right? Because I'm a therapist, but I hear a lot of people who use chatbots for therapy. They ask
Sure.
they ask ChatGPT what to do. I think that people are like nervous system to nervous system talking to each other is super important because that's what connection is about and that's what safety is about. You can look at me and say, I'm a safe person or I'm not a safe person. You move closer and we feel more connected. And you can't do that with technology, but we might forget that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because it's easier.
You got to constantly remember what these tools are, right? They're like trying to predict what,
That's
either
right.
like the next word or like, or what you're what you want to hear back, basically, and you can write great prompts. And again, I think AI has like a ton of useful like applications. I'm not down on it 100%, in any way, but I think that it's not a person, and it's hard. I think, especially when technologies are like designing things to replace or, try to replicate people, right? Like,
Right.
that feels a little insidious.
Yeah.
That doesn't, just like where we had, bots on social media and they kind of made social media a lot less appealing because of it. Like, I think you're good. At least initially we're seeing where there are places like that with AI where it's like, maybe we need to rethink our approach to this or because I do worry, like, how do you, when people get into that loop, right, and you become more isolated and less connected, and how do you find those people and help, bring them out of that? I think that's a huge, opportunity to solve because it's needed now, but it's going to be more needed as we move forward. Because like you said, I mean, we're able to do more, but it is going to cause atrophy, using this tool as well. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're going to go back and back and back as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, where's the point of intervention? Is it on like this moment and what's happening here and the tools that we have now? But I really think what it really goes back to is really valuing the slowing down and not overvaluing immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Because I think all of this really came out of this world where we want to move fast, fast, fast. Faster is better. So AI can do something in 30 seconds that might take us an hour to do. And getting it done faster is more valuable in our world. This goes back to the leadership and what makes us I think Brene Brown says, what makes us a liability in our humanness is our performance.
Yeah.
Because our output, because we're human, our output isn't as fast. And this speaks to that too, because AI helps do everything quickly. We're not valuing what goes into the creation of the solution to the problem, of the fact that it takes time to do that. We want such immediate gratification. And the more we crave that, even though that's against what our brains want, the more I think disconnected.
For
So
sure.
I don't know how we get back to that, but I really feel like that's almost at the crux of this, valuing the time it takes, or like not overvaluing immediate gratification. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think also, kind of having those, like a periodic check-in with yourself too. Like, am I, meeting my social needs and making social connections and doing that? Am I eating and exercise, like all of those things where you kind of, am I sleeping? I think that's one of those, like, but I think human connection is one that I know years ago didn't really think of as something that I needed to keep keep on top of and make sure that it wasn't like falling. But I think these days you kind of do, and check into with the people in your life, because it is one of those things that just, sadly, you're not at a dearth for opportunities on where to, isolate yourself with technology.
Oh. Right.
Like you're lousy with choice.
Look at what happened today. We both of us opened up our laptop. We're going to write an email back to someone, and it was right there.
Yeah.
Like that was such an easy opportunity to just say, okay, that's easy. Let me just click on that, which interestingly enough, we both felt really uncomfortable about doing that. And that makes a lot of sense, because an email is about saying your words, connecting to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it kind of felt probably icky for us, because it didn't feel authentic.
Right. Even though it was what you would, like, it literally was what I would have typed. Maybe with better grammar, but.
Yes, maybe. Right. Even, not, kind of physically typing it,
Yeah, it's strange. It's definitely, and how, like, it wasn't that long ago that, like, email felt like really impersonal, right?
Right.
Like I remember that time. Like email like came to existence in my lifetime as a thing.
You call me. Well, now I'm like that with text, right? Like, call me. Don't send me a text. There's no, you can't see the nonverbal communication and all of that, and the tone that goes when we speak versus email or text. But this was a delightful conversation. We didn't save the world again.
Shocking.
Even though we try every time to figure it out. But I think we kind of really thought about what the needs are right now for human beings in this world of technology, and especially in AI, and what our brains need and what our brains want.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good conversation, and to just keep in mind of like how fast the world is moving, and remember that our brains want to move too, and we may not need to feed it something else.
Absolutely.
So thanks. Good talking to you today, Jackie.
Great talking to you too, Toni. I'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.